everybody, it's Ian the Off-Kilter Crafter.
And I'm Becca.
And spoiler alert, well, this is more of a visual spoiler alert. I've got to pull it up here.
Okay.
But I've got a spoiler alert because we're recording this on the night of the preview for the Dallas Quilt Show.
That's right. And you have two quilts.
I do have two quilts.
You have shooting stars and
Showering stars.
Showering stars.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one?
The Margot, also known as Change Happens.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous
so
one.
I have both of those in the show.
And I went overkill and I did 4.
Yep, you sure did. You sure did. And
I was like, I have 4 quilts. That's all I have. All of them are going.
Well, and I have somebody there.
Oh,
at the preview tonight.
Oh, yay.
Who has sent me a photo, and I'm so excited to show you this photo.
I can't wait to see the blue ribbon that Change Happens got. Shut the front door.
You won a 3rd place ribbon on Excluded. And I've been holding this secret for a little while since I found out.
I have no words.
I wanted to hold it until we recorded the
gosh.
podcast so I could show this to you.
Oh, I'm so happy. Okay, so Excluded. Well, I guess, first of all, we need to address the elephant in the room that we have new tech.
We do. We do have new tech.
Which is hopefully, crossing our fingers, allowing us to make this our inaugural audio episode for the podcast. So if you're listening on a podcast platform, I don't even know if it made it that way, but if you are, we're hoping, all of the quilts and images that we're talking about, we're going to try to put a link to all this stuff in the show notes of the audio podcast. But for those of you that are watching the podcast on YouTube, you don't need to worry about the show notes because you already
you see everything.
You see it. That's right.
But if you're listening to the podcast, you can also come over to YouTube where we do put the video up for. And I'm getting caught up in my cords. I'm going to have to learn how to deal with this new technology, folks.
That's right. So Excluded is a quilt that I designed and I pieced, and Beth from Goody Goods quilted for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one that I was really inspired to make after I went to my very first QuiltCon in Atlanta.
Yep.
Atlanta 2022 had exhibits of X's and O's, and all of these quilts had a ton of negative space. And it inspired me to want to make something like that.
Yeah.
And so I left QuiltCon 2022 with a thought in my head that I wanted to make a black quilt with a rainbow X. I wanted to do this for a variety of reasons. And I just kept mulling it over, and I eventually pulled out EQA and figured out what the blocks need to look like. There's actually 3 blocks in there: the solid black, and then the one rainbow, and then the inverse of the rainbow, so that you can get the outline. And after I put it all together, I was really, really excited, but I didn't have Pro Stitcher yet.
Yeah.
And I felt like my quilting on that was going to scribble all over the thing. So I sent it to Beth, and she did some graffiti quilting on it. I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
So it's been an adventure with that. I just finished the facing a few months ago. I submitted that to QuiltCon, and it was a reject.
This year.
Yeah.
It could be accepted in the future. You never know.
Who knows?
But
I am very proud because it was my design.
Yeah.
I had an image in my head, and I wanted to figure out how to execute it. And I did.
Yep.
And now it has a ribbon.
And now it has a 3rd place ribbon on it.
Okay.
We're having, sorry, if you're watching on the actual video, the light, I think, above Becca is trying to go out.
Oops.
It keeps flashing.
Spooky.
We're having all, by the way, we're also here at my place this time instead of being in your studio like normal. So,
and I think this may end up being the setup for the podcast instead of carrying all the equipment back and forth.
Yep.
It's a little bit more comfortable.
It is.
It's nice because people keep asking about if Becca's going to Ian's. And now you see I have.
She does. She does. Absolutely. Yeah. So this may be our new setup. This may be, hopefully it sounds a lot better.
Oh, I hope so.
I'm hoping so, because those audio issues were driving us insane.
Zonkers.
Yeah, it was terrible. So hopefully we're getting things good enough that you can hear clearly, you can see clearly if you're watching on YouTube, And hopefully we've gotten this podcasting thing down. And also this will allow us to bring guests in now.
That's right.
And we'll be able to we're set up in front of my television
so that we can see what we're recording. We
Right.
have learned that the trick to this is monitoring the audio, monitoring the video. So we're watching ourselves on screen, which is actually, I gotta say, a little bit easier for me because to look at you like this, it kind of hurts my neck and it makes the audio kick out. So
Sure.
I'm actually watching you on the screen like a video conference.
Excellent. Love that. Love that.
So if it ever looks like I'm not looking at him, it's not that. I'm looking at him here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I end up looking over in your direction
Yeah.
anyways, but it's
Well,
fine.
I end up doing this. It's just a
I know.
It's just a habit.
It's fine.
Anyway, so we talked about QuiltCon, which I think is
Yeah.
a good segue for today's topic.
Yeah.
I mean, it is today's
topic. Yep.
So before we get too far into that, one of the things that we like to do on the podcast is introduce a quilt.
Yep.
So Ian, why don't you talk about the quilt that's on your lap first?
Absolutely. So I'm going to do my best to kind of talk about it and describe it, since, again, this is the audio version that we're hopefully putting up onto the podcasting platforms. But my quilt on my lap is one that I worked on. This was actually the last quilt top that I worked on when I was living in Texas. So it is very Texas themed. It has panels that I cut into squares and made kind of, I guess it's kind of a window-ish look to it a little bit. I don't know. And it has a whole bunch of, it's blue, and it has cow skulls and armadillos and the word Texas, and there's a red truck with blue bonnets, and there's a lot of different things in here. And like I said, this was the last quilt top that I worked on and pieced before I left Texas. And the panel pieces were actually given to me by my mom for a Christmas gift, and I had no idea what I was going to do with it until I came across the Texas fabric and decided, why not use that Texas fabric, since it's pretty perfect. And then I used Becca's long arm and did the simple, it's called abacus quilting.
It's your favorite
it's my
quilting
favorite.
pattern. It's your go-to.
It is my go-to because it quilts out so quickly. It's simple, but it gives it good texture.
Yeah.
And it's just a great panto to use, electronic panto that, I like it. I like it a lot.
And the reason why I had you start with yours is because yours is a regular quilt.
Yep.
And mine is actually got a story of QuiltCon.
Mm.
So when I went to QuiltCon this year, I was really excited because I took a few classes, and we'll talk all about that in the episode.
Mhm.
But one of the classes that I took was with Verushka. Can't pronounce her last name, but she's the lady that made Dignity, which was the Best in Show quilt.
Yep.
Yeah. She does amazing FPP. She's done, what is it? The Jane quilt. What is that?
Oh, Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc.
Joan of
Sorry.
Arc, yeah.
Apparently, I don't know my history. So she's done all of these wonderful pieces, and she was teaching an FPP class, which released and unveiled the final, as of the recording of this video, the final installment in her Capturing Memories series. Now, these are quilt patterns that are FPP, and they are designed to look a little bit like Polaroids, and they all capture a different scene that is inspired to kind of like invoke memories.
Well, a lot of those are from her travels.
Yes,
because a lot of them, like, she went to Scotland, and so she created a specific Polaroid for teaching in Scotland. She has gone to QuiltCon and is teaching at QuiltCon, and so there's Arizona. So she has several Polaroids. I didn't say that. I was like,
said it right.
Polaroids of
memories of where she has taught.
Exactly.
She started it at QuiltCon. And so that first block was QuiltCon. And she ended the 12 block series with QuiltCon. And so this is the class that I took with Verushka. I pieced this portion in the class and just a little bit of this one in the class, and then I brought it home, and over the course of the weekend I finished piecing it, and I was so excited to have this one completely done that I almost immediately walked right over to the long arm, loaded it up, and I did matchstick quilting, which you would think that the only trick to matchstick quilting is making sure that you get the quilt on there straight and you keep it basted. No. these straight lines take a little bit of talent.
Yeah.
I had to talk to you about all the times that I had to stop and rip a whole row to go back and do it. It was a whole thing, but I did get it down, and I am very happy that when the stitching wasn't exactly right in some of the places, I took the time to rip it out and redo it, because my vision for this is that it's a show quilt.
Definitely.
I did a gray binding that matches the background, but I wanted just a little bit more pop of color. And so surrounding the Polaroid layout, I did a white flange, which is the same fabric that you see on the Polaroids.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really pretty. I
Yeah.
love the flange binding. I think that really sets it off, because you could have just gone with the gray, which would have let it kind of blend off into the background.
Yep.
But I like that pop of white around the edge as well.
Yep. And I was a little nervous about the color of thread that I was going to use to quilt this, and I found that dove gray. It's called something else, but it's dove gray-esque.
Yeah.
It blended into everything, and so even when it's against the dark bits of fabric, in the moment while you're quilting it, you see the contrast between the thread and the fabric, and you start to panic a little bit.
Yep.
But when all the quilting is done and you take a step back and look at it, what you see is the texture, and those lines just tend to disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It looks so good.
Anyway, that was my quilt.
Yeah.
It is a QuiltCon story, which leads us into today's topic.
QuiltCon!
QuiltCon! Woo, 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 woo. The party horn.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So we're going to talk about our experience this year at QuiltCon, and I'm going to say I feel like this was the best QuiltCon for me.
Yeah.
Period. Like so far.
Yeah. It's interesting because this is the QuiltCon where I feel like you're connecting with you're finding your people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was also a year where your channel has had a bit of growth in the terms of quilters, not just crafters.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this year when you went, you got to experience both of those things, which I think makes it exciting for you.
It was very exciting, and I went into it. I didn't do any classes. I didn't do any lectures. There were wonderful topics available in both, but I wanted to enjoy it and have this experience and enjoy QuiltCon for QuiltCon. And I also knew that I was going to not lose a day per se, but I was going to be spending a day working in the Crimson Tape booth.
Right.
And so I wanted to monopolize the rest of my time that I had to, of course, see the quilts. I knew that I was going to be seeing all of you out there. And I really wanted to prioritize that time, spending time with people, my friends and new friends, and do that. And I'm so glad that I did. I think this was a really good decision for me, and I really think that I monopolized the time that I had there. I met so many wonderful people and new friends, like all of you out there who watch us on our channels and here on the podcast. It was so great meeting all of you. I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
We just did the heart emoji.
Yep. And the for those on the recording or on the audio only
you saw
version,
the hearts.
you saw the hearts. Anyways, yeah. So it was so much fun meeting all of you and putting faces with usernames and actual names.
Yeah.
Getting to meet so many people out there. We of course saw Shelby. We met her last year in Raleigh. Yeah. But it was great to see Shelby again. And then, I finally got to meet Dr. Kathy Smith, see her in person. Auntie L.
Yep.
Lori was there and got to see her.
Robin.
Yep. And then, of course, I got to meet some other content creators that I hadn't gotten to meet in person before, such as Di from Sister Chicks.
That's right.
April from
April's Craft Room.
April's Craft Room.
Tracy from the Sewing Channel. And I did get to see Leo again. I've known him. Leo's just amazing.
Leo is amazing.
I got to meet Leo for the first time.
You did.
And it was like we were two lost souls that just connected. It was great. It felt like I already knew him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just the type of person where you just feel like you know him already.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, it was really, and you took a class with him.
I did.
And
I finished my project
Yeah.
in his class.
Yeah.
And I brought it home and it's now quilted and just needs to be bound.
Amazing.
I know. Like, Bill took these classes
Mhm.
with me and I keep sending him pictures. I'm like, get on my level, Bill. He's not finished.
Yeah. No. But so let's actually talk about that, because you took
Sure.
2 classes.
Three.
Three
No,
classes.
4.
4?
4.
You took, oh, that's right. I
Yeah, I
forgot
took
to
4.
have one.
So my journey with QuiltCon, I mentioned earlier when we were talking, oh, bye, Ribbon. Well, I mentioned earlier that in Atlanta, that was my first QuiltCon.
Yeah.
And when I decided I was going to go, I was a bit nervous. There were some folks that were going to be there, or I had heard were going to be there, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to really interact with them.
Mhm.
And so I was trying to monopolize most of my time in areas where I wasn't going to run into people very much, but still get to enjoy QuiltCon. And so I overloaded on the classes.
Yeah.
But I went with a friend, Mary. And while we were there, one of my friends, Donna, was going to meet us there. We call her Donna Shine. And while we were there, another friend showed up. We call her Dr. Donna. She has a PhD in education. So the 2 Donnas, Mary and I, ended up being a group of 4. And I didn't feel like I was alone while I was there, because I had them. And while I was there, I was meeting so many viewers. I literally lost count of how many people I hugged and took photos with and said hi to. It was just a really eye-opening experience for me. And so I had signed up for a class or 2 every single day that I was at QuiltCon, and I signed up for the unlimited lecture pass, because I was like, well, if I'm not going to go to a class, then maybe I'll go to a lecture, and I won't, like, I'll look at some quilts and I'll shop a little bit, but that's where I'm going to be. And I ended up spending all of my time on the show floor.
Yep.
And I didn't take the classes. So when we went to Raleigh last year, I did what you did this year. I took no classes. I did sign up for 2 lectures, and I spent every day on the show floor. I loved Raleigh, but this year I wanted something a little bit more. And so I went back to the classes, but I chose a good balance. I figured that for me, I needed to make sure I had at least 2 days of no classes. Well, ish, right? And so that's what I did. On Wednesday, I took a class in the afternoon and then another one in the evening. And then that left me, I'm sorry, Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday morning, it left me time to go and see and doodle around. Friday was an all-day class for me. And then that left Saturday and Sunday to do whatever I want. And I closed down QuiltCon with a 1-hour class at the Handy Quilter booth.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that one, because that wasn't a
QuiltCon
class.
class.
Yeah, it was from the Handy Quilter booth.
That's right.
But not an actual class through QuiltCon per se.
Yep.
But so that's why I forgot about that one. But it was really, so okay. How were the classes overall?
Oh my gosh, they were great. So the trick that I learned when I took the classes in Atlanta, I was just like, oh, that sounds like fun. Oh, and I was just adding stuff to the cart, and I wasn't taking things that I was really excited to do. I was just taking things to take things. It ended up costing a lot of money, probably not the best use of my dollar bills. This time around, what I did is I looked through all of the classes and I thought, okay, what is being offered that if I wasn't taking a class, I would still want to do the thing? And that's what I took. So the first class I did was a class on my iPad with Geeky Bobbin. So Bobby was there and she was teaching you how to use Procreate to draw your quilting stitches on a quilt. I didn't stay for the whole class, and it was no issue with Bobby. It was just an instance where, the day before, late at night, we got in. Thursday or morning, I was already overwhelmed and overloaded, and I needed an hour or so to decompress before I took the class in the evening with Leo. So I did about half of her class. I got enough information out of it that I felt like I could go home practice that and start to expand on it.
Good.
And I actually have.
Yeah.
So it was still money worthwhile.
Good.
I would take it again and sit through it the entire time next time.
Fair.
The second class I took was Leo's class, and he does
Mhm.
these amazing portraits with fabric. And the class that I took with him on Thursday night just worked with 2 different fabrics. You got to pick the silhouette that you wanted to make. You
Mhm.
brought your 2 fabrics, you cut it out and put it together. I chose to do a zebra. I did not think I was going to finish that in that class. And I was probably a little intimidated by this one the most because it was the one that I was like, I don't want to do a lot of teeny tiny cutting
Sure.
and applique and
Sure.
any of that stuff. But I did it and I loved it. And the way Leo taught the class, I feel like it made everybody feel empowered.
Mhm.
Lots of people finished their projects. And he and his husband just handled everything. Like it was amazing. So it took my experience with Bobby up a level. It was a little bit better, right, than what I took with Bobby. Not that her class was bad. It was just I was like, oh wow, this is great.
Mhm.
And then I took the class with Verushka.
Yep.
And that topped the class with Leo.
Yeah.
So it just kind of got a little more and a little more
Yeah.
and a little more. It was building on itself.
Yeah.
So all of those classes were things that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And that's why I signed up for them. They weren't necessarily new skills that I was learning because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I wanted to learn something from scratch at QuiltCon. It was more, I already know a little bit about how this is done and I'd like to do it a little bit more.
Well, the one that you learn the most on would be Leo's
Oh,
class.
absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
you had not done portrait quilting or
Yep.
anything like that before. So this was a brand new skill for you
It
to learn.
was, but
Yeah.
the other 2 were not. Well, the
Right.
other 3 were not.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that, if I was going to take one that was from the ground up,
Mhm.
it needed to just be the one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like, if I were to give you advice when it comes to QuiltCon 2026
Yep.
in Raleigh, if you're looking at classes, don't overwhelm yourself trying to learn a
No.
bunch of new things from scratch, which is what I did in Atlanta.
Yep.
And it was a total fail.
Yep. There is an art to QuiltCon, of attending QuiltCon, and we'll give some tips and tricks towards the end on what we have learned
Yep.
from going to QuiltCon and all that kind of stuff. I have to say that it's interesting to me because in 2022, when QuiltCon was in Phoenix the first time, this is right after kind of everything started opening back up from the pandemic. Everybody was starting to come back out again, and I had gone to the very first QuiltCon that I had gone to was when I was president of the Fort Worth Modern Quilt Guild. And it was in Austin. So I kind of felt like I had to go because A, I'm the president of my guild.
Yeah, you got to be there.
Kind of need to be there. And B, it was in Texas. So I really had no excuse. I didn't have to fly. I could drive down. I really needed to attend. So I did go, and I didn't take any classes or anything like that. By the time that I had gotten tickets, everything was sold out class-wise. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go and attend. And it was really fun. I had a great time. The funny thing was, this is the very beginning, February of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember it was Heather and a couple other people from my guild. We're all kind of standing around in a circle and we're like, hey, we hear this COVID thing. Like, oh man, I hope that doesn't become a thing.
Oh, little did you know.
Little did we know. But we were like, oh,
Foreshadowing.
I know, right? It really was. It was like so foreshadowing of what was about to happen. And none of us had any idea because like a
You were
month
just
later.
running around
Yeah.
in everybody's social distance spaces,
Yeah.
no masks,
Yeah.
touching everyone. You didn't know how many germs you were sharing.
Little did we know what was going to happen in under a month from
Yeah,
that point.
yeah.
But anywho, so it was fun. I will say 2022 was fun. It was my second QuiltCon to attend.
What was your
one,
first?
Huh?
What was your first?
Austin.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
So, but at that one, I got to meet Tiffany and Eric.
Yeah.
Because they were there.
Yeah.
But it was fun. But I was mostly, I saw some people that I knew, but it wasn't like I was more on my own.
Yeah.
Than anything else, right? And I had 1 or 2 people come up to me that were like, "Oh, I know you." It was mostly like people that I had interacted with on during the pandemic, there was a virtual guild. And so I joined that virtual guild and I got to meet with them and see them in person. And I'm like, oh, how lovely. I get to see you in person instead of that little box on the screen, you know, all the things. Anyways, so, but Raleigh, and that's why I didn't go to Atlanta, because I was like, meh, it's fun. I enjoy it, but it's like an every other year type situation.
Until
we were at Raleigh, and we had such a fun time at Raleigh. It was a blast.
You started finding your people.
I did start finding my people in Raleigh. And
but what changed for you between 2020 and 2022? No.
3.
Which one? Last year. 4.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raleigh.
2022 was
Phoenix.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's right. What changed for you between 2022 and 2024 is Ian the Off-Kilter Crafter, dare I say, has become Ian the Off-Kilter Quilter.
Yeah. That's
right?
true.
And so while you still have the content out there from all of the other crafting that you did, predominantly between 2022 and 2024, you have gone all in on the quilting content.
I have. Absolutely.
And so you're growing a following of quilters.
Yeah.
Not just crafters, but I think your active audience is more quilters than they are crafters now.
I think so. So. So I think that's, and then 24, I keep getting confused. 20 because it happens in February each year, and I'm like, what year was that? And I keep saying QuiltCon next year, which is technically true, but like sometimes when referring to it,
or I'll say this year because it's the next one coming.
Right? Exactly. Like, oh, QuiltCon this year. Oh wait, no, it's technically next year. Or I'll say, oh, last year at QuiltCon in Phoenix, and it's like,
a month ago.
That was this month, or that's last month. So it's a weird timing, to be honest. It kind of plays with the brain a little bit. But yeah, this year was amazing. And we haven't even talked about the quilts yet.
No. And you know what's funny? My first experience with QuiltCon was in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And so the exhibit hall was on multiple floors.
Yep.
And so I looked at a map and I saw that the vendors were going to be on level 1 and level 2. And I was like, oh, wow, there's going to be 2 levels of vendors. And the classrooms were kind of spread all over the place between different buildings.
Yep.
So lots of walking in Atlanta. I spent 4 days on the show floor. The way they had the vendors set up, when you walked in, there were racks of quilts on display. I looked at all of those on floor 1 and floor 2. And then on Sunday, I learned there was a 3rd floor.
Oops.
With a ton of quilts.
Yep.
And I learned at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So I did not see every quilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't go to Atlanta, so I don't know for sure, but I feel like Atlanta's setup was not intuitive.
No.
And I've heard that from multiple people too.
It wasn't. It was all over the place. It was all over the place.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. Atlanta was good. I would go back, but I really enjoyed the layout and the way things were designed. I feel like Raleigh was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite vendor.
Yeah.
Hall. Like it's close to home.
Yep.
I like the convention center. I like where we stay. Like
Yep.
all of the things. So anyway,
the quilts.
Yeah.
The quilts were, it's always, for me, looking at the quilts, it is very inspiring. All of these quilts are so inspirational, so they really get my creative juices like flowing, and I'm like, oh, I love these colors, or I love the shapes, or I love there's so many different things. The textures. Your brain really gets overloaded. It really does.
It does.
But by the same token, there's this intimidation that it comes with looking at all of these quilts and seeing how wonderfully they have been constructed and pieced and all the things.
Yeah. And
you look at them and you're like, oh, my work will never be that good. And there's this like juxtaposition with these two feelings that are fighting each other internally in my brain for, oh my gosh, these quilts look so amazing. I want to do super fun stuff like that. And also, oh my gosh, these quilts are the caliber of them is so high, and I just don't know that I'll ever attain that. Yeah. So it's this like melding of these two worlds.
Yes, to all of that. It's inspiring. You want to try it. Some of it's like, I can't believe that 15-year-old girl did that quilt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All the things. But the thing that I find is amazing is with the way they're laid out, I seriously thought I went up and down every aisle.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Because I spent 2 days breaking it up so I could go. In fact, I hate to admit this, but I'm going to do it again in Raleigh because it was great. So on Sunday, lots of people have left, and they had already reserved scooters for Thursday through Sunday, or Thursday through Friday or Saturday. Well, the people that supply the scooters aren't going to take them all back Saturday night. They keep them on Sunday. And so there's a lot that were brought down, but only reserved for a few days. And so on Sunday, I rented a scooter for the day so that I could drive around all of the quilts and just not worry about like anything. And it also worked out well because everybody was buying stuff and we were putting it on the scooter. So it was great.
Yeah.
But I thought I went up and down every aisle. And then I've been on Instagram looking at people's posts. Josh from Lifting and Stitching, you've been doing it, and a number of my other quilters that I follow on Instagram have been putting carousel posts up where you get to slide through and see the pictures. And there are quilts in those posts. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see that.
Yes. Yeah.
How did I miss it?
The same for me. I definitely 100% saw every row of quilts. I know I did. But
apparently.
I still see post on Instagram and I'm like, wait, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, where was that one? I know it was there, but where what? Like, yeah, your brain gets overwhelmed. It really does.
There were 400 some?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was between 400 and 500 quilts. Is the number that I heard, somewhere between 400 and 500 quilts. And I went back and looked at this because somebody asked me, I was telling somebody who doesn't know about QuiltCon, and they were asking, oh, like how many people attend this? And the official number, as per the recording of this video, has not officially come out yet. But I went back and looked at Raleigh. Take a guess at how many people attended Raleigh.
Oh, there was a lot. I think it was a record.
It was.
I don't know why I want to say this number, but I want to say like 25,000.
You are almost exactly. Yeah. It was around 25,000 people attended in Raleigh. Now, granted, the further west you go, the attendance will drop off a little bit.
Phoenix, to me, did not feel as well attended as Raleigh was.
Yeah.
Phoenix was there. It was good.
Yes.
There was a lot of turnout. There were a lot of vendors, but Raleigh felt overrun by quilters.
Yes. Yes.
It was hard. Like Thursday and Friday, it was hard to kind of get around the show floor. The vendors were running out of things, and to no fault of their own.
Oh, absolutely.
There was still things to be purchased, but people were doing a lot of shopping on Thursday and Friday.
A lot of shopping.
There were lines for days for some of the booths. It was just, there was a lot. And I remember like even outside the exhibit hall in Raleigh, there was no place to sit. You had to sit on the floor. There was inside, they had tables kind of situated at the front of the exhibit hall. They were all taken the whole time. It wasn't until Sunday that things got a little bit lighter and you could actually move around.
Yeah.
Phoenix to me felt like it was a good balance of well attended with a lot of people there, but not so crowded that you couldn't move.
Yeah, definitely. It felt very spacious.
Yeah.
I was a lot more comfortable because in Raleigh they kind of moved in the rows of quilts.
Yeah.
And in Phoenix, I think they heard enough people complain about that. And so they moved them further out, which was great. It was a lot easier to move around. It was a lot easier to see the quilts. It was a lot easier to move around the vendor booths. It was just, I think it was in Phoenix, I think it was very well laid out.
It was.
And it felt really good. But speaking of layouts, I don't know, this was a horrible transition, but we're going to transition because we had some fun parties that we got to attend.
Yeah.
As creators.
So QuiltCon isn't just about the show.
No.
It's actually less about the show for me and more about the people.
Yeah.
So I was really excited about QuiltCon because we got to coordinate and meet up with folks that we had never met in person before, or people that we have, but we only see them once a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was exciting for me. Thursday, I got to take the class with Leo, so I got to meet him for the first time.
Yep.
Friday, we did a content creator meetup dinner.
Yeah.
Which was great.
It was amazing.
It was. Saturday, I feel like we did something on Saturday. I know we interacted with, like, we had a subscriber meetup Saturday afternoon. Right. I also chatted with Karen from Just Get It Done Quilts a little bit. But what else? Was there something else we did on Saturday?
Yeah, it was when we went to Di's.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, when we went to Di's hangout.
Yeah.
She Di from Sister Chicks invited a whole bunch of content creators to hang out. She had an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And we all hung out at the Airbnb. Leo was there. Let's see.
Leo, Karen Brown.
Yep.
Carolina Moore.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Amy Dement.
Tracy
from the Sewing Channel.
Amy. Or not Amy.
April from April's
there.
Craft Room.
Sorry, April.
From Sister Chicks Quilting. Yep.
Tiffany, of course. You, me.
And then there were some others, and I'm just, like, I can see their faces, but I'm blanking a little bit on the names. Stacey Lee from Stacey Lee Creative. Yes.
Dave's Crafts Room.
Dave. Yes, Dave from Dave's Craft Room.
He was there.
There was still more. And the goal was, I think it was just supposed to be a little bit of a meetup, but it kind of morphed a little bit into.
We talked shop a little bit. We talked a little bit of shop,
which was interesting to hear everybody's take. And I will say one thing I learned from that conversation is when you get a bunch of people who are highly motivated to create content and they're creative and they're used to working alone.
We were having a blast. We were all talking. We were having,
and we were all telling
fun.
Each other how we were doing it wrong. Not really, but it's just interesting because you can tell that some of the folks are like, oh, I don't have to, like, I just do this on my own. This is how I'm going to do it. But it was nice to hear what other people did and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. But it was also nice to put faces, maybe bodies, because we know their faces, right? Maybe it was nice to meet the people in the flesh.
It was nice to meet the personalities.
That's right.
Behind the persona, if you will.
Yep.
On camera and stuff like that. But no, it was a fun meetup. Had a great time, and thank you, Di, for inviting us.
Absolutely.
That was great, and putting it all together. She like talked to the Airbnb host and was like, "Hey, we're gonna be a couple old ladies hanging out," and they were like, "Okay, sure."
Well, we weren't old ladies hanging out, but we all did just sit in the family room.
We did. We all hung out.
Oh man, they had a charcuterie board that was mind blowing.
They took the whole center island in the kitchen and made a charcuterie board.
That's right.
Out of the I almost said it.
You couldn't even see the island.
No.
They had fruit and meat and cheeses and cookies and it was all laid out very aesthetically pleasing because they're quilters. Duh. Right? And they were leaving the next morning on Sunday. So they had all this food on the island and they kept saying, please take some.
Take. Yeah, we don't want to take it with us. We don't want to have to throw it away. Yeah. But no, thank you, Di. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And I
have a core memory that was created from that trip.
Okay.
it's stuck in my head and I will
Uh,
never forget it. It's like in the moment I knew this was being like, it was being recorded as a core memory. I
Yeah.
could tell.
Yeah.
When we were in the car driving to Di's house,
Yeah.
we were going down the freeway and we took an exit and turned like 90 degrees.
mm,
And when we did, we went from maybe we did more than 90 degrees, but we went from driving into the light to complete darkness.
mm.
And it was really interesting for me. Like, I have this feeling and like this imagery in my head of how it was light out and in a second it wasn't.
Well, we also got to see a SpaceX
We
take
did.
off as
I
we were
forgot
driving.
about
Yeah,
that.
because Karen was like, "What's that?" And she
And that
points
one
out the
didn't blow up.
windshield. Thank goodness. And there was a SpaceX taking off, and it was like, "Oh, that's
and
really
Tiffany's
cool.
like, "Oh, I see them all the time."
Yeah.
I was like, "I've never seen one."
Yeah, yeah, exactly." So
I
it was
like,
cool to see that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was cool. That was cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what a core memory for me was?
Uh-oh. I'm afraid to ask. What
So-
did I do?
So we get in Wednesday night
Uh-huh.
at 9 p.m.
Uh-huh.
late.
Yeah.
We go to, you had rented a car and you had rented a mystery
Oh,
car.
I did.
And so the lines were very long to
Oh
get
my
the
gosh,
cars.
I was so frustrated
It
with
took
that line.
like an hour,
At
maybe even
least.
an hour and a half to
Yeah.
get the car. But we finally get to the window and they're like, "Oh, we're giving you a Mach E, which is a Ford vehicle. It's their all electric vehicle." And it was like, "Yes, okay, great." And so we get into the Mach E and we exit out of the parking garage. And where we were in the parking garage, we were below street level.
Mhm.
And there was this
Ramp
U-turn
to go up.
and there's a ramp. And you slow down to a stop. And I look at you and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm looking behind me. Is there going to be a car behind us? Like, what is happening? And you're like, "Ready?" And I'm like, "Ready for what?" Bam! You slam the pedal down all the way, I think.
I did.
And we go flying up that ramp. And if you've never been in an electric car, it's like riding a roller
Instant.
coaster.
It was instant.
Instant. Like, I got pushed back into my seat. It was incredible. And it felt like a roller coaster taking off. And all I could see in my head, because I see the end of the ramp coming up, you know when the ramp levels off again. All I could see us doing was continuing up, even though there was no more road, and just be like, "Whee!" SpaceX, or what's that car? What's that car? The orange car.
Oh, Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. I
Yep.
could totally like, "Whee!" I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" You slowed down. To be fair,
I did.
She
I
slowed
did.
down.
I didn't get
She slowed down.
It did not get to triple digits.
And we did not fly.
I just liked making it go fast. But it was interesting. So every time someone new got in the car,
Yep.
I went, "Are you ready?"
You
And
sure did.
I would find an open stretch of road.
Yep.
I would allow the car to come to a complete stop, and I would hurry up and get to speed limit. Maybe 5 more.
It was fun. It was really
It was.
fun. Oh, and
And
you got your first Dutch Bros too.
I did.
You
That
got your
was
first
so
Dutch Bros.
good.
So good. I
Can
miss
we go
it.
back?
Yes.
I've seen mocktail recipes for that eagle eye.
No, Golden Eagle.
Whatever.
Golden Eagle.
It was delicious.
Yeah,
I've seen mocktails for those. We've got to try that and see
We
if
should.
it actually works.
we should. Yeah, yeah. I miss my Dutch Bros. I had Dutch Bros in DFW, and I don't have them anymore.
Oh, soon.
Hopefully, they'll
It'll
come
happen.
out to the East Coast.
You know, speaking of that car, it was so funny.
Mm.
So when the guy handed me the keys and said, "Well, we've got you in a Mach-E," my jaw dropped.
Mm.
I was like, "Oh," because I really like this car, and
It's a nice car.
I want one,
Yeah.
but I don't have that. So I was like, "Oh, okay." And so he hands me the keys, and I'm also thinking, I got an electric vehicle, I got a cool car, and it was cheap because it was a mystery car. I would have been happy if they gave me a Ford Escort, but I was much happier in the Mustang.
Yeah.
So it was funny because it was red
Mm-hmm.
and it was fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I called Jason the next day and I was like, "Hey, babe, I rented a mystery car and they gave me a red Mustang. My souvenir from QuiltCon is going to be a speeding ticket.
Thankfully, she did not.
I did not.
You did not.
Although Bill had a rental car too, and we were leaving Thursday morning, I think, or Friday morning to go to QuiltCon, which it was one of the mornings, and he was right behind me.
Yeah. We
pull out of the Airbnb that we were all staying at, and I stopped, just like I normally do, and he was a little bit behind me, so he wasn't right there, and I just floored it and took off. And I get a phone call like 3 seconds later. He's an attorney. Yep. And he goes, I'm not licensed in Arizona. I can't get you off that ticket.
It was so
great.
funny.
It was great.
It was great.
That's a good core memory.
That,
you hyperventilating every time I did it.
Yes, I was. So to be fair, I've ridden the Velocicoaster in Florida in Universal. And the Velocicoaster, for those of you who have ridden the Velocicoaster, you understand. But
the G's, man.
The G-forces, and just the things that coaster puts you through. I would always come back into the station. I rode it 3 times. I would always come back into the station hyperventilating. Like, even the guy sitting next to me, because I rode the very last row, which I hate doing, but I wasn't about to turn that down. The very last row, we get back into the station, and I'm like, and he's like, "Dude, you okay?" Like, I didn't know this guy or anything, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you good?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I need a moment." Like, it was a lot. But it was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I did hyperventilate every time you punched it, but it was still a lot of fun.
When you did it the first time, I was afraid I was scaring you. And then when you explained that you liked it, and that's just what your reaction was, I was like, oh, you just gave me the green light to do this every time I'm at a stoplight.
It was fun. But the creator meetup on Friday night.
I was thinking Friday. I said Saturday.
Yeah, it's okay. That was great because we got to interact with some other content creators that we don't normally get to interact with a lot.
Right.
Got to get to know them better, and it was silly because, okay, first of all, trying to get the reservation for this place, all the back and forth discussion that this poor person went through was a lot, and they weren't very. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't think they were very happy with us, to be honest.
Well, so we had a very large group.
We do.
And it was a rooftop bar.
Yeah.
And their safety protocols were you had to be in a seat. They didn't want people milling about.
Right.
And for whatever reason, they took our group and divided it into 3 tables that were nowhere near each other.
Right.
And so, like, you couldn't get up and go stand at somebody's table because they literally would come out and be like, we need you to sit down. So we eventually were able to get tables that were close-ish together, but what it meant is there was one big table with a lot of people at it, and then there was another table of 4, and then there was some bar seating for a couple of extras. And so unfortunately, I was at the table of 4 right in front of a heater, which was great because it was cold outside.
Yeah.
And I just kind of sat and chatted with the people that were at my table, which I was totally fine with.
Yeah.
You ended up at the bar seating with Josh from Lifting and Stitching almost the entire evening, and I didn't really get a chance to interact with the folks that were at the bigger table, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where I was having good conversation. I was enjoying myself, but also there was a constraint in that there was nowhere for me to sit at that table. So
exactly. Yeah. That was.
I couldn't be at the Cool Kids table.
Well, and Josh and I had a great conversation. Like, it was really great to get to know him more, get to learn about him and his life and all the things. But I wish we could have, like, see, that was the funny thing was Josh and I were up talking to each other near the bigger table.
Right.
Because he had been sitting at the bigger table, and then they came over to us and were like, we need you to sit down, please. And it was like, where do we go? Because all the tables were full. And so Josh and I ended up off to the side by ourselves, and I felt bad because I wanted to mingle with a lot of the other people there, and we kind of did towards the end a little bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't conducive for what we were hoping for. But it was still fun.
There's next year.
There's
right?
next
We
year.
can do this. I think we repeat it next year. And we just find another venue, maybe something where we can get like a banquet room or something.
Yep.
We'll figure it out. We got a year to figure it out.
So yeah, someplace where we can all sit and mingle versus splitting us up. It was Floor 13.
Yeah.
Was the name of the bar?
It was. And you had to go through the red light district to get there. So when you
go,
the Floor 13, it was the rooftop bar for a hotel that was not too far from the convention center. And so when you go into the building, you go into the lobby, there's a little room or a little hallway off on its own, and it's got a red light in that little tiny hallway. It's just like a little elevator lobby with a red light.
Yeah.
And so you walk in there, you're like, okay, where am I going?
This is weird.
They told me to get in this elevator and go up to the 13th floor.
Bum, bum, bum.
Right. So, but at that creator meetup, you formed some lasting friendships from that.
Yeah, definitely.
That are going to lead into guests on the podcast in the future.
I'm so excited about this.
And at least one of them, maybe all of them, I know you have fangirled over.
I have. Absolutely.
Do we want to talk about this?
No, I really don't. I really, I am already like,
You're red.
I am red because like, I ended up making friends that I'm like, how did this happen?
Because
like,
you're a good person.
Yes, but it was just like, never in a million years did I think these friendships would form. But here we are, in a group text with each other and talking, and it's just like they wanted me.
Of course they did.
wanted me.
Of course they did.
What? What? Anyways, but yes, I formed some friendships that I never thought I would form. And I'm so...
Not because you thought they were horrible people.
No.
Right? Like, let's just be clear.
Yeah.
It was more like you envisioned them on a pedestal.
Yes.
And unattainable for where you were.
Yes, absolutely. Because here I am at like 16.5 subscriber count, which is nothing to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination. Right. But also, some of these content creators are...
Like, they're doing the things.
They're doing all the things. Yeah. And I'm like, me? What? Huh? But it's turned into such a wonderful friendship so far. And I have found a tribe that I didn't know I needed.
I love that for you.
And it's been an amazing journey. And I'm so excited to
see where it
goes and have those friendships and continue to support them. And yeah, that's another core thing that I got out of QuiltCon was this is my tribe, and I never knew that I needed them as badly as I did.
Yep.
And here I am with them, and it's just like, I love you guys so much.
They're listening or watching right now, and they're like, we love you too.
I hope so. But yeah, no, I'm like blushing, and I'm like, anywho. Awkward. Ew. But no, it was a lot of fun, and I'm very much excited for next year in Raleigh again.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Like, let's go.
Yes.
Like, now, can we go?
Well, we'd be waiting a long time for everyone else to show up.
Well, so let's talk about Raleigh. We've been blabbing on forever with an incoherent conversation that has not been outlined or structured at all.
Nope.
And this is what you get when you come here. So just deal with it. Just chill.
It's fine.
It's fine. But we can end or start to wrap up by giving folks some tips and tricks for QuiltCon in Raleigh, because it's March 2025 as of the recording of this. And you've got time to plot and plan and make it a success. Whether you've gone to QuiltCon in the past or you've never been, you're going to get something out of these.
Yeah.
So let's go through them. Maybe we can come up with a few. We'll just spitfire and see what comes.
I definitely have.
I have a few too,
tips.
but
Yeah,
I
for
also
sure.
think some of ours are going to probably overlap.
Probably.
I introduced it. Why don't you give a tip first?
So my first tip is, and I talked about this a little bit, but you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get overstimulated. You're going to get overwhelmed. Your brain is literally going to hurt looking at all the quilts. So don't feel like you have to look at all the quilts at one time. Yeah. Break it up over several days. If you have the availability and can go multiple days, spread it out over the time. Even if you can't spread it out over several days, take 5, take 10, take 15 minutes, walk away from everything, and just be for a moment. Let it absorb into your brain. Let your brain comprehend everything, and then go back to it fresh.
Yep. I will say one of the things that I was a little disappointed about was the sensory deprivation room. They were supposed to have one, and I did go to it, and all it was just an empty room. There was no comfortable seating. There was no dimmed light. There was nothing that I thought it was going to be, which leads me to think that perhaps it got moved to a different room and there just wasn't a sign posted. I don't know. But to that end, I did need to remove myself to recharge and to kind of revamp a couple of times. And so when I needed to do that, I found areas where there was comfortable seating where I could just go and be and just close my eyes, not take a nap, but just like zen out. And there were a couple of times where that place of zenning was in a stall in the bathroom because it was away from people and nobody was going to bother me. So, but yeah, that's super important to have an escape plan to recharge.
Yep, absolutely.
I think one of the tips that I would give you is to understand. I hear this from so many people, and it doesn't equate in my brain. The math doesn't math. So if you buy a 4-day show pass, it's like $40 or $45 for all 4 days. But if you pay the dues for the Modern Quilt Guild, it's like $40 or $45 for the year. And you get a ticket to QuiltCon for free. And you get all the benefits of being in the Modern Quilt Guild. So you get to do all the online stuff that they do. And you get to register for the Quilt Guild, or you get to register for QuiltCon ahead of the general public. And I mean, the benefits just keep adding up. You also get discounts on classes and lectures that you want to take, and you get to sign up for those ahead of the general public. And as a Modern Quilt Guild member, you also get to participate in the mini swap. So there's lots of things that you get for that $40 that you were going to spend anyway if you're going to go for all 4 days. So my advice is right now, go over to the Modern Quilt Guild website, sign up for a membership, or if there's a chapter in your area, sign up for a membership with them, and you'll get all of those benefits.
Yep. There's chapters across the nation.
You can be in more than one.
Yep. I'm actually in 2.
I'm in the individual, like from online, and I'm DC.
Yep. I'm DC and Fort Worth still. Hi, Fort Worth folks. I miss y'all. Oh,
wait, we can do it again.
Does it do it again? I don't know. Oh, there it goes.
Apparently I don't love Fort Worth.
It only goes one person. Only one person.
Well, no, earlier it did it. Both of us, yes.
Oh?
I don't
know.
I promise you it was both of us.
Sorry, folks, online or on the podcast. Audio only. We're being silly and raising our on the screen. There's a whole bunch of stuff that pops up whenever you do certain hand signals, and we're doing that. Anyways, another thing that I would say is, you're going to make connections that you didn't think that you were going to make.
Yep.
And like, be open to making those connections.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't know
it
if
does.
that makes sense.
It does.
Because there are so many like-minded people that are attending. And like, I would strike up conversations among the quilts that I never thought I would strike up. And just getting the chance to talk to other people who are like-minded, and just like there was a quilt that was like a light bulb hanging, and it had rays of light coming out from it, and I went up and I looked at the quilt, and I could see where the person had drawn the filament in using their sewing machine, but she didn't like it, and so she ripped it out. And I could see the holes from where she ripped out the original. And I pointed that out, and I started this whole conversation with this other person who was looking at it. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't even see that. I never would have seen that." And so it was a lot of fun. So you're going to make some friendships and some connections that you don't think is going to happen, and just be open to it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good one. I would tell you to participate in the mini swap.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
It is.
It's great because you get to make a quilt that measures less than 25 by 25 inches for somebody else. You are exchanged with a person who is making something for you, and you're making something for them. And it is not a high pressure swap. There's no extras. It's just the mini, and they coordinate and facilitate getting to meet that other person and swapping the quilt. So that was really fun. I enjoyed what I made. The lady that made something for me, I enjoyed what she made for me. I actually have it hanging at my desk at work. But again, you can only do that if you're a member of the Modern Quilt Guild, I think. So
I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. I never have done it in the past, because I always thought, oh, I'll never, like, the person who receives my swap will never like what I make.
And it's all about just I would say in some regards, it's more about just making something for somebody else than getting something.
Yeah.
So nobody's going into that like, oh, I'm going to get a perfect quilt. Like, they're just like, I'm making something for somebody. I'm excited to make this for somebody that's going to appreciate a quilt, right? Like, that's what it was for me. When you sign up for the mini quilt, you get to give a bit of a profile about your likes and your dislikes. And then once you're paired with somebody, the line of communication is open, so you can have further conversations about what you do and don't want. And I've done it now 2 years in a row, and every time I do it, I put in my profile, just make something that you want to make. I don't want you to stress or feel overwhelmed or worried that I won't like it. I just want you to enjoy the process. And I will be happy with whatever I get. Oh, look, thumbs up.
There you go. Yeah, no, and I love mine. I love my mini swap.
Yeah, yours is nice.
It's so good. I can't. I need to put that up. I need to.
You need to. I have not posted a picture of mine on social media yet, so I should do that on Instagram.
You should. You should.
I maybe I did. I don't know.
So if you're listening to this, you can probably go over to Instagram, because she probably posted one as soon as we finished the episode. And it should be up for you to see, more than likely. And if not, she forgot. And
what's another tip you got?
Wear good shoes, good walking shoes.
Yeah.
Wear really good walking shoes. And if you can pack 2 pairs, it's probably better to pack 2, so that way you alternate between 2 pairs of shoes. I did that for the first time this year, and I'm wishing I had done that in years past.
Really?
It really makes quite the difference.
I never thought to pack 2 pairs of shoes.
It really helps. But make sure that they're tennis shoes or walking shoes or something like that.
Not heels and sneakers.
No heels, no dress shoes, something comfortable to walk in.
My tip for you is going to be what you're going to take into the vendor hall. So I didn't take it this year, actually. I just brought a backpack. But I have a backpack that's a little bit bigger than your traditional backpack. You can wear it on your back, or it has 2 wheels in it and it has a handle that pulls up. And so I usually take that when I go to QuiltCon. And there's no problem getting it into the show floor, because if they don't want me to pull it, which I've never been told not to, I can always wear it. I didn't bring that one this year because I was flying to Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, Atlanta and Raleigh, I both drove. So I just took a normal backpack. But in addition to that backpack, I made sure that I had a few things snuck away in there that were going to help me get through the day. the first thing I had was a backup battery, a charger for my phone, because you're going to take all the pictures.
Yep.
You're going to take all the video clips, and your juice is going to run loose. That sounded horrible, but you know what I meant. Your battery's going to die.
Yeah.
The second thing that I kept in there is juice for me. And by juice, I mean a water bottle.
Agua.
Yes. So I like my water cold, but if you like it room temperature, then it doesn't matter. I like my water cold. So I got one of those double wall thermalated, whatever thingy things. And so this is like my water bottle. It actually needs to be washed because it had a ton of stickers on it. I peeled it off. I'm going to put some new ones on it. But it is spill proof. And it's got a clip right here where I can clip it onto one of the straps of my backpack. So I can go hands-free without it being in the side pocket. And it holds like 32 ounces of water.
Yeah.
And most places nowadays have those places where you can put your water bottle in and fill it up for free.
Bottle fillers.
Yep, bottle fillers.
Yep.
So it lets you stay hydrated. But in addition to that, I would also pack on the down low, maybe some little snacky snacks that are not messy, that if you needed to excuse yourself from where the quilts are and have a little bit of nourishment because you don't want to spend $20 for a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
Which, true. You can do that. So that's my, make sure that you're taking water, energy bar or something, and have a bag that you can easily carry around with you with a backup battery in it.
Just don't drink or eat anywhere
near the quilts. Not at all.
Near the quilts.
Nope.
That's not allowed.
Nope.
That's not acceptable.
I wouldn't even do it near the vendors.
Nope.
Right. Like I remember I took a bag of grapes in, and it was just sitting in the backpack, and I was starting to feel a little hungry, and I was like, well, I'm going to excuse myself and have a little snack break. So I just went out by where the restrooms were, and I just sat outside the restrooms, literally just eating my bag of grapes. So yeah, I don't want to be even on the exhibit hall with the food.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
What do you got?
Have fun.
Well, what about another thing to take? The stickers.
Oh, the stickers. Yeah.
And business cards or some sort of card with your contact information on it.
And not just like your contact information, but like your social media presence.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, don't put your address on there.
Right.
But maybe put like your name and your handle and maybe even a photo of yourself.
Yeah.
Because folks are going to have the card and be like, I don't remember who this was.
Yeah.
But if they have a face or a photo on there, they're like, oh, I remember now. Yep. So,
and stickers are the currency of QuiltCon.
They
it
sure
feels
are.
like everybody has their own stickers for QuiltCon, and there are plenty of sticker companies that you can submit your own artwork to, and they print them and make them and everything like that. So I ended up having 3 different types of stickers at QuiltCon, and I just ordered some more actually of those stickers. So I have some for next year too, and I'll probably make another design and do all the things. But yeah, stickers are like a big tradable item at QuiltCon. You're going to come home with hundreds, it feels like, of stickers of some of your favorite people that you like to watch on social media, but also some new friends that you've made at QuiltCon. And so stickers for newbies who've never been, stickers are a currency that tend to be everywhere.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a social media person to trade stickers.
No.
I traded stickers with people who weren't. They were just quilters. And they're like, oh, I heard about the sticker thing, right? So I personally went a little over the top this year.
You did.
I made 3 different designs, and then I took my logo. And I had all 4 of those images turned into vinyl stickers. And I put them in little foil packs with a zipper bag on it. And everybody that gave me a sticker, I gave them a sticker pack. And then anybody that came up and were like, oh, I love you on YouTube. I watch your videos all the time. Anybody who asked for one, I gave one to. And I did write down how many I gave away each day, so I could probably add them up. But I went back and ordered a couple hundred more of all of them because they were such a hit. And I felt like, there's a lot of folks that don't get to go to QuiltCon. And what better way to make them feel a little included than to share the joy with them?
Yeah.
So I have a limited amount of QuiltCon Phoenix 2025 stickers that I made for this event. It's just the 3. I'm not sending out the logo one, that I'm sharing with people that are just asking for them online. So if you want some of those stickers until I run out, and that might be a little while from now, so you're still good.
I feel like you have a good amount of stickers left.
I have a good amount. You just send me a self-addressed stamped envelope to my snail mail address, and it'll be in the description box of the video. It's also at the bottom of every page on my website, sewbecca.com. And all you got to do is just put that envelope down in there with a stamp addressed to yourself, mail it off to me, and when I get it, I will put 3 stickers for you and shove it off in the mail to you.
Yep. And if you want my stickers, just write a little note saying Becca and Ian stickers, so that way we can both put them into the envelope for you.
And if you want Ian's and not mine, send it to Ian.
Same thing. Same
address. Just address it to Ian.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, we have stickers available. If you'd like them, send that self-addressed stamped envelope to us, and we'll let us know and write a little note saying, I would like Ian's, I would like Becca's, I would like both, whatever you want. Just let us know.
Yep. I'm really excited about QuiltCon 2025. Six. See, I just did it again.
I know.
Just did it again. I cannot wait for it to be here.
I know.
I'm also really excited because I want to try my hand at getting a quilt into QuiltCon again.
I think you should really try Excluded again, because I think quilts, and I know this for a fact, some quilts that have been rejected 1, 2, sometimes even 3 years prior will suddenly make it.
Yeah.
So I think that one has a chance.
Well, maybe it does, but also I would like to submit a quilt that I design, I piece, I quilt, and I bind.
Yep.
And so I've got plenty of time to do that, because if you're looking to get a quilt into QuiltCon, first of all, it's very competitive. So don't feel bad if you're rejected, because there are some very wonderful things that are rejected.
Yep.
But the entries close in October, I want to say. They start in like August or something.
Yep.
And you've got about 2 months to submit it. You don't have to have the quilt fully finished.
Yes, you do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
At some quilt shows, you only have to have the top.
Yep.
Okay. So I need to have it finished.
Yep.
But yeah, like I don't mind putting Excluded in again. And the reason why is because it's a unique design. I didn't follow a pattern. I figured it out on my own. But I want to figure something else on my own to get a design element that I'm looking for, and I want to quilt it, and I want to submit that. So I don't want to follow a pattern. I don't want it to be a kit. And in fact, I would tell you, for QuiltCon, if you're looking to get a quilt in the show, you probably don't want to just make a quilt from someone else's pattern, and you probably don't want to make a kit unless you're in like the youth category. Those are, they really prioritize uniqueness and like your originality. Originality.
Yeah.
So sketch something out, figure out what you would like, and then figure out how to make it work.
Yep.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I
don't think this podcast was perfect,
but it's finished. It may have taken us a month, but here we are.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was so. For those who didn't know, we extended our in between time because I had COVID.
Well, we did a couple of things, and it wasn't just COVID. We made a boo-boo in February. We thought we were supposed to release the Wednesday we were leaving for QuiltCon. Turns out it was the Wednesday before, so we had to push that week. And then we went to QuiltCon.
Yep.
And then you had COVID.
Yep.
And then it was the time change.
Yep.
And it was me returning to work 5 days a week. It's all of the things.
All the things.
So it's not just on you. It's just the universe kind of piled everything on us when we got back. But we're back.
But it was mostly COVID.
And I don't think either one of us wanted to record until we knew we had the right equipment.
That's true. That is true.
I was so tired of editing videos and being like, the audio sucks.
Yep. Yep.
Spoiler alert, the audio might... What are we going to do if the audio sucked?
I don't know. Let's not even go there.
We did a dry run. We did a dry run.
We did.
And we've done the test, so I'm crossing my fingers.
That this came out well.
Yeah.
And I will find out as we edit.
We'll see. But, yep.
All right.
So, what is it you say? This podcast isn't perfect, but it's finished.
But it's fit. We already did that part.
Yeah. And finished is better than perfect. And normal is just a setting on the dryer. And all the things.
What do you say on your channel?
Bye! Bye! See you guys later.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
See ya.
And listening, because audio version. Bye, everyone.
See ya.